Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam, and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we are previewing a secret game.
All right, so the secret game is Orbit, which stands for Orbital Race Between Interstellar Tourists. And this is from Bitewing Games and renowned designer Reiner Knizia. This is a secret game that nobody even knows exists. We were one of the first people to get to try this game and share it with the world. And so this is a game that is coming to crowdfunding today, October 15th. So make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video after you watch it to check out all the details and back this wonderful game. Now, this is a game in which you are going to be tourists going through the space and trying to discover and be on all the different planets as they orbit around the board. The player who can visit every single planet first and get back to their home planet is going to be the winner in this game. This is a game in which you are going to be playing cards and trying to move about the board. And the player who can do that fastest and most clever will be the person who wins this one. So let's go down to the table. I'll show you how this works, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Orbit on the table. Let me show you this game about traveling through space, visiting all the planets. Now, I do want to make sure you understand what you see in this portion of the video is prototype, so the final artwork, components, maybe even some of the rules might change once it's released from crowdfunding. But that being understood, let's go ahead and get into what you have components-wise with this game. You're going to have a large board that's going to fold in different ways. This board is double-sided. Just know that the back side of this board looks very much like what you see out here. The only differences are going to be the orbital paths for the different planets. They're going to branch off into different pathways on the back side of this board, so it is a little more complex as far as choosing which way the planets might orbit. That's dependent upon the player at the time that is active. They get to choose the way the planet is going to orbit. Otherwise, on this side, it's a little more simple. You just have one continuous path for each planet, and that planet is just going to follow along that direction based on what direction the arrow is pointing in for that planet. You also have spaceships that represent the different player colors, and you are going to start at the beginning of the game on your matching planet. The planets are going to be wooden painted pieces that are going to match the different colors in the game. You've got red, green, yellow, gray, orange, brown, blue, and purple there at the top. And you do have lots of tokens that are going to be these space station icons. They're going to start on there. You can either shuffle these up face down as they're all the same icon on the back and then place them out here randomly, or the game does come with a fabric bag that you can then put all those tokens in the bag and draw at random, placing them on those spots. You do have lots of cards in the game. You do have energy cubes and player boards. Now, these player boards are going to be different depending on what your color is. I've got the red player board out here, and so because of that, we've got the colors for all the planets except for the red planet, because I start the game on the red planet and I don't need to visit that one. These are the planets that I need to visit. The object of this game is very simple. If I'm the first player to visit all of these planets first and get back to my home planet, then I am going to be the winner. So how this game works, it's very simple. You will start with a hand of cards that's denoted by this number right here. So at the beginning of the game, it is 3, but I might be able to increase that number throughout the course of the game. And taking a look at what the cards look like, they are going to have a number printed on it, and that's the number of movement that I can do that turn. They're going to have planet icons on them, and so those are going to be the planets that will orbit for that turn. And then there's some that might have a special action printed on them as well. So let's cover movement, actions, and then planet orbit. So movement being the number, and you can do each of these in whatever order you want. You can also neglect to do any one of them, but you have to do one fully before you move on to the next one. So the number is movement, and it's very simple. Each little, as you can see, there are little grid hexagon triangle, all printed throughout the board, and each little intersection is one space of movement. So I could go 1, 2, and 3. And anytime I get to one of these tokens, whether I land on it or move through it, I get to gain it for its ability. Now, this particular one says that I get to gain as many energy cubes as I can currently hold, which that's going to be this bottom row right here. Whatever number is printed on that tells me how many energy cubes I can hold, which in this case is 2, and those cubes are going to go right here in this box. So taking the energy cubes from the supply, I put them in my box, and anytime that I do a movement, I could spend these energy cubes to add on extra movement. So in this case, I just moved 3. I could spend 2 to move 2 more spaces. That's how the energy cubes work. But again, your limit is whatever is printed here furthest left that is revealed. So I want to try to increase my energy cube storage capacity. That's what this particular type of icon does. There are lots of different icons. This one is going to allow me to increase my hand size, putting it on whatever number is lowest revealed to the left, and now my hand size is increased to 4, whereas this is going to increase my energy capacity, so now I can hold 3 cubes. Some other examples, this one is going to allow me to travel as far as I want in a straight line, so it's like I'm riding a comet, kind of is the thing, and I'm going in a straight line, whereas this one is going to allow me to teleport on the board to one of these spaces. And so there are several spaces printed out in various quadrants of the board, allowing me to teleport to that instantly. That's what this token does. So that's what the movement lets me do. The special actions that are going to be printed on some of the cards. So this action right here allows me to change the direction a planet is orbiting in. So I can change the way the planet is orbiting, either clockwise or counterclockwise. Some other ones, I get a number of energy cubes. This is 1 energy cube, but there are going to be cards that fill up all of your energy cubes, get 3 energy cubes. You get the idea. Now that's going to be the vast majority of the cards. In fact, I think that might be all of the actions covered right there. So that's the way the actions work. But the planets are also going to orbit. And so in this particular case, the blue planet is going to orbit 1 space. And so we would move that 1 space, or that's not actually the blue planet, that's the gray planet, excuse me. The gray planet is going to orbit 1 space. And so the gray planet is right here. Its arrow is pointed down this direction, so it's going to advance to the next spot, which is down here, and there we go. So we have orbited the gray planet. Now, some cards are going to have you orbiting lots of planets. In this case, all the planets are going to orbit. Now, I do want to point out that if you are on a planet, or if another player is on a planet when it orbits, it's going to travel with that planet. So the green planet here is taking the green player to its next spot. If you were on a path when a planet orbits, it's not, and let's say it's orbiting 2 spaces, it's not going to pick you up with it. It's just going to pass over you. So you do have to be on the planet whenever the planet is orbiting for you to be able to travel with it. And yes, multiple players can be on the same space, and they can both orbit with planets. Now, when players are on the same space, and let's say the red player is moving in this case, they're not going to take the green player with them. Green player will stay where it's at. But on planets, when planets move, all the players that are on that planet are going to move with it. So that's what these icons are on these cards. Now, these ones right here, that's for one of the modules, which are going to be over here, and I'll cover what the modules do in just a minute, but just know that some of the cards are going to be more impactful when you're playing with the different modules in the game. So again, that's what you're doing on your turn. At the end of your turn, after you've done all the things on your card, you will draw back up to your hand size, which will increase throughout the course of the game. And your objective is to simply unlock all of these planets, visiting all of them. Now, you'll know that some of the tokens give you special abilities that I've already covered, and maybe they come down here and fill up more spots on your player board. Otherwise, other planets aren't going to have anything on them. You'll just take them off and remove them. But you want to be the first one to visit all of the planets and then get back to your home planet. And if you can do that, you win the game. And that's all there is to the base game of Orbit. Now let's talk about the different modules. Let's talk about the solo mode. Solo mode is very simple. It's the same thing that we've already covered, except you are going to reveal a number of cards as what your hand size is for that particular turn, 3 in this case, and then from those cards, you're going to select 2 cards to use each round. After using both of those cards, that's going to be the end of the round, and you will keep track of the rounds by placing each round of cards off to the side in its own little small pile. And once you get to 10 rounds, if you have not visited all the planets and gotten back to your home planet, then you lose the game. But if you are able to do that, then you win the game. That's how the solo mode works. Now, there is a way to play this game in team mode, and that is going to be with this friendship module right here. It's very simple. You and another player will play in teams. You do have to do this in a 4-player game, and you'll sit across from each other, and you and your partner will have one of these tokens, which allows you to, when you spend it, you can teleport yourself to wherever on the board your partner is at. So that's one way to move all the way across the board. Each team will also have one of these swap tokens, and you can swap places with your partner by spending this token. The only other changes with the team mode are that you share energy cubes, so you can spend the energy cubes that your partner has on their board, and there are communication rules. Whenever you are about to take your turn, you are not allowed to talk with your partner. You can't tell them about what cards you have in your hand. You do have to go ahead and play whatever card you're going to play, and then you and your partner can communicate about what you should do with your card. But at the end of the day, it's up to the active player to decide how they want to spend their movement and orbit the planets and actions and that sort of thing. Otherwise, you can't talk about what you're going to do on your turn until you've already started your turn. There are other modules. This is going to be the engine turbine module. You're just basically going to add this engine turbine to the bottom row of your board once you've filled up your board with tokens. And what this is going to do, this is going to negate any of your energy cubes that you would gain from that point forward in the game, because anytime you were to gain energy cubes instead of gaining them, you're just simply going to be able to move as far as you want in a straight line down the board to wherever you want to go, and that might get you closer to being on the next planet. That's what that engine turbine is going to do. This is the P.R.I.S.M variant. Now, this P.R.I.S.M stands for Prime Revolutionary Intergalactic Stationary Megalopolis. And now what this is going to do, this is going to be placed at the beginning of the game on one of these spots where you would be putting one of these space station tokens. And it just acts as another planet that you are going to have to visit throughout the course of the game. And you'll want to put the token on there. And once you visit it, you can take it off just like any of the other tokens. But this planet is not going to move. It's stationary. And so that's going to make it very difficult for you to get to, but also difficult for you to leave from to get to another planet in an easy way, because it's not moving. It's not going to let you get across the board faster like some of the other planets would. So that's the P.R.I.S.M variant. The Nebula module. Now, I mentioned that the Nebula module involves the cards that have the Nebula icon on them. So anytime that you play one of these cards that has the Nebula icon on it, you are going to place out one of these artificial nebula tokens, and you're going to place it on any one of the planet orbiting spots that you want to. And when that planet were to orbit to that spot, it's just going to simply pass over it. So it's going to speed up how fast these planets orbit, but they also act as roadblocks if you're moving your spaceship throughout space, as you cannot go through those. So they're roadblocks. You're going to have to go out around them. That's the artificial nebula module. Now, there are modules that allow you to have your own special tokens that you can spend throughout the course of the game. These are one-time use tokens. You can spend this to teleport again, flipping it over to show you've done it. Fill up your energy cube capacity to its highest capacity, and again, flip it over to show that you've used it. And this is to get you a mulligan. You can discard your entire hand and draw a new hand, but again, one-time use. So that's the module here for these one-time use ability cards. And I believe that's all the different modules. Lots of different modules you can add to the game. There are lots of rules about what modules you can play in combination with other modules, but otherwise, that's pretty much the gist of it. Hopefully that gives you all the details. Again, check out that campaign page to get all the extra details that I might have forgotten. But that's how you play Orbit. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one.
And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Orbit from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective.
So Sam, this is a really interesting game, has a beautiful board, space-themed game. You're traveling from planet to planet, and really the idea behind this game is really trying to figure out how to hop from planets that are orbiting along the path that's going to take you to the next planet that you need to get to, and make that happen for you to make this happen fast. What did you think about this game?
It was definitely unique, figuring out having to pay attention to the orbits of not just the planet that you're wanting to get to, but other planets as well, because some planets cause other planets to orbit, and so it's a lot of strategy.
Yeah, this is what I would like to call like a pattern recognizing game, right? Like, because you are on a pattern, but you're not going to be there for very long, and you're trying to time it out or just right so that you can hop onto another planet that has its own pattern, right? And every player is playing cards that kind of makes all that happen. And so you're just keeping track of everything as the players play in this game. And it's a really interesting game. It's unlike any other kind of game that I've experienced before. I don't know. What was your overall experience with playing in this one?
Yeah, it's definitely paying attention to everything else that's going on and not just what you're currently doing at that moment. It was difficult because I found myself at the end needing to get to planets that were so far away.
Right, yeah.
And that was really difficult. So I think the more you play it, the more you figure out what your strategy needs to be.
And on that, what I found with this one is that there were several times where there was a choice to maybe go for the easier to get to planet because it was right there, or making a choice to go for that really difficult planet that might be a little bit further away, but it's right there for you to get now because you know it's going to be like miles away later on. Yeah. And that was a fun decision to make. It was almost like, this is a tough choice. That thing is right there. It's like the marshmallow test, right? Like I deny myself the easy, low-hanging fruit to get the bigger prize by going for the harder one now, like, while it's easy. That was a fun experience with the game. So, and you have that happen a lot, I feel like, because there are several planets that are just orbiting these giant paths, and then you've got these lots of little ones that are kind of going around in the same general portion of the board, so they're a little easier to get to. So definitely a fun aspect of the game. Plus, every time not every time, but a lot of the planets that you visit give you those special benefits, like getting to hold more energy cubes or getting to hold more cards. What did you think about that kind of tableau builder experience of the game?
Yeah, it definitely made the next steps easier when you build that up.
Yeah. And I think that's also another layer of strategy, right? Like, because if I could go to this one that gets me extra cards in my hand, which could give me better cards, right? Or I go over here that doesn't give me anything. Well, obviously, I need to choose the one that gives me more cards. So that's another little fun aspect of the game, too. Gameplay's 30 to 60 minutes. I think that's a great time range when you're thinking like, family weight games. Has a solo mode with it too, which is a really interesting, fun thing too about it. The game also has several different modules that you could add to the game to spice it up a bit, because the base game in this one I feel like is very straightforward, easy to understand, one that probably works well with non-gamers, I would think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it depends on what type of game that non-gamer has played before. Okay. Because there is probably a little bit higher level strategy than some other games. So probably medium weight for a non-gamer. Okay.
And with those modules added into the game, I think it definitely spices it up a bit more because it adds deeper challenges, harder challenges to succeed with. You're traveling to a planet that doesn't even move on the board in one of the modules, so that's another little hurdle that you're going to have to try to figure out along the way somewhere, and it's not moving, so there's no like real easy way to get to it. And once you're there, it's a hard thing to get off of it to get to somewhere else. So that's a fun little aspect of the game with one of the modules. But there's lots of modules that you want to check the campaign page for to get all the details. So really interesting, fun game. I love the theme about this idea that you're a tourist and you're trying to visit all the different planets. That's fun with the game too. And it looks really cool out on the table too with the different little planets orbiting, and it looks like space. So the game is Orbit. It is from renowned designer Reiner Knizia, and again, it's coming to crowdfunding today, so make sure to check out that link down below in the description of this video now that you've watched it to check out all the details on this wonderful game. While you're down there, make sure to leave some comments. Let us know what you think about Orbit.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.